Hi, that was fun. Welcome to the video. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my noodling. What are we talking about today? Today there is, well, not today there is, but yesterday they dropped a new beta. They, being Fractal Audio, dropped a new beta of the FM3 firmware. And it had a couple of interesting features that I wanted to show you and talk to you about. The first one is the tuner. There's some updates to the tuner display, and I'll throw up a side-by-side comparison of what it looks like. They basically just added some text. I don't know how big of a deal this is. Honestly, even sitting down a few feet away from the screen, I can't really read them, so I don't know how helpful this is, but I imagine this was requested by some other people. But to me, it needs to be reworked. Text needs to be a lot bigger if it is going to be useful, certainly to me. But if that's your thing, that's your thing. So that's one update. Really, the big update I want to talk about was Scene Ignore is coming to the FM3, which is a cool feature. It landed on the XFX about a month ago, and I thought, man, I can't wait till this lands on the FM3. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is and how I would use it. Yeah, so basically, this function, so if we switch over to FM3 Edit, you've got this new button down here and a new option in the amp block, or in any block actually, to set Scene Ignore. And what this means is, on a per channel basis, this block will now ignore scene changes. So when a scene change happens, the block just says, yep, I'm not listening, la 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 la. And Cooper Carter actually had a really good video on this. He ended up setting up the amp block to ignore scene changes, and then everything else around it was changing. So he was envisioning, he kind of had a setup where he had two, FC12 with all the scenes, and then another FC6, which was kind of like the amp channel switching pedal board, and then the scene changes were handled by everything else, which is cool if you have a full XFX. I think what is more interesting on a more limited device like the FM3 is to kind of use it as a way to get some of those instant access slots back and have them actually be real instant access slots. So a few weeks ago, I put up a video about how I created a custom layout for my FM3 that lets me get at all the stuff that I want to get at. And so just a quick review of what that is, and what I've got set up here on this, on this preset. So on view 1, I've got 4 scenes, so I can go from scene 1, scene 2, scene 3 to scene 4. And the way that I use those is I've got 3 gain stages, sort of clean, first overdrive, second overdrive, and then my 4th scene is kind of a pad, a basic pad I can always go to, big, huge reverb ambient patch. And so that's great. And then the other thing that I do is I have in this layout a few 6 different per preset switches that I just put slots in there for. So if we look at FC Edit, this is my custom view. And so if we look at view number 1, I've got those scenes set up and tap tempo, and then a view toggle. And then basically views 2 and 3 are all per preset slots. So that on a per preset basis, I can put the individual, maybe modulation or whatever additional effects I want on top of my bass sound, which is almost always those 3 gain stages and then a pad sound. So what was kind of wonky about this setup before Scene Ignore is, say I'm on the clean channel, and then I hit, I turn the delay off maybe, and then I switch to my overdrive scene, the delay all of a sudden pops on. Maybe I don't want that, right? Or any of those other modulation effects. Now I can tune that so that that doesn't happen. And any effects that I want to sort of more be like just instant access can ignore the scene changes, and it kind of does more intuitively what I want it to do. So I'm just going to kind of show you that, how I have that set up in this preset. So in this particular preset, I've got a chorus and a pitch block, and then elsewhere there's also a tremolo that I've set up. And the delay, I can also set this to Scene Ignore as well. So this is my first delay, delay 1. I'll also set that to Scene Ignore. And then pitch, I'll set to Scene Ignore. And chorus, I'll set to Scene Ignore. And I talked about this chorus block in another video on vibrato as well. I'll link to that. But basically this chorus block is set up as kind of a vibrato sound, which you heard at the beginning of the video. So that's something that's like unique, specific. Maybe I might want to change gain stages independent of that. And hopefully you heard me do that at the beginning of the video. I was trying intentionally to do it. I don't know how good it sounded, but I was trying to demonstrate the point. So what I can do now with those set to scene ignore is I can be, you know, on my clean sound. And maybe I turn on like this pog sound, right? And I can go back and hit my overdrive scene. And the pitch block is still on. So this is kind of what this layout is designed for me, is to be able to still be creative, get at the things that I want to get at in each preset pretty easily without having to lug an additional FC controller. And I think a lot of people wouldn't spend the money necessarily, or don't need to spend the money necessarily on an FC6 or an FC12 with the FM3. I mean, the sort of ethos of the device is that it's small and you can throw it, chuck it in a bag and carry it with you. And adding an FM6 literally doubles the size of what you have to carry, right? So it may be okay for you, and that's fine, but there's certainly circumstances where you don't want to do that, right? And so that's fair. So what am I talking about? Yeah, that's scene ignore. I think it's pretty cool. I'm definitely going to use this on my bass presets. So yeah, just to quickly review, I'm going to use scenes, as I've always done, to be my gain stages, and then use scene ignore on these other blocks that I want to be more sort of like instant access, my sort of per preset slots, depending on what I want to be able to do. And then I have a functional layout where I can be creative. If I'm jamming with the band or rehearsing and want to try something, I can do that without messing up my scenes or being able to change the sounds independent of the gain stages that I want to get to. And then, you know, if there's a song preset that I want to lock those things down for this part of the song, this part of the song, this part of the song, that's fine. You can turn off scene ignore. You can set up a preset for that song as it is. This is, for me, more helpful in a situation where I want a preset that I want to just be able to jam with. Yeah, so those are the updates in firmware beta or firmware 5.03. Scene ignore, you know, to me it's kind of a nice upgrade change. I'm definitely going to use it a lot. Let me know if you feel like this is something that you would use. I'll just quickly mention it is a setting per channel, so you could have one particular channel. Maybe you've got a control switch, you want to directly select a certain channel to go to a certain sound, and then you don't want that thing to be controlled by scenes, or you do want it to be able to jump back when you hit a scene. You want it to jump back to a certain channel that ignores scenes. You can do that. I haven't demonstrated that here, but because I don't know that I would use that. But you know, if that sounds like something that would fit your use case, please let me know in the comments if that's something you would do. Let me know how you're using it. Yeah. Fractal, always updating, always cool. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. And remember, if it sounds good, it is good.